Good day, TPF3703 students. You are the students for the third year teaching practice module. This video is the fifth one since we started at the beginning of the year. I recorded a video for you on orientation or on what teaching practice 3 comprises, all that is expected of you and that you need to do. I then took you through assessment 1, how to complete it, and then took you again through assessment 2, then took you through portfolio 50. Today, I'm walking you through assessment 50 or portfolio 50. That is me, your lecturer, Dr. M.V. Kgabo. The video outline is this. It is for the year 2023, which is assessment 4, portfolio 51. We'll be going through the requirements. What does assessment 51 or portfolio 51 comprise? It is teaching practice 3, and it is for grade 2s and grade 3s. The theory modules, which you will use to plan your lessons, are as follows: mathematics phase teachers, reading in foundation phase, home language teaching, resources development in foundation phase, inclusive education in foundation phase. Remember, this is a year module. The content of this module is as follows. There's general information, structure of teaching practice, portfolio 51, the introduction, additional resources, announcements made on My UNISA, general rules for submitting assessments, portfolios for teaching practice, instructions for teaching practice, portfolio 51 itself, the student declaration, student's declaration form, the marking grid, attendance register of the student teacher at the school, attached proof of placement from the teaching practice office here, and UNISA supervisor's evaluation. I have already welcomed you, and I will not go through the welcoming, but just to mention to you that as you are registered at an open distance learning institution where there is no physical contact with you and me as your lecturer and you as a student. This can be a challenging, lonely journey. Please use the learning management system provided by the university to access the support that is in place to ensure that you succeed in your studies. During this year, I will support you through study materials which I have posted on the Moodle platform, where all the assessments will also be included. I have already created discussion forums where you can post questions for me, your lecturer, to assist you with any challenges you face in the module. Please make sure that you visit the Moodle platform 3 times or every 3rd day. I will also plan and schedule Microsoft meetings where I will expect you to book slots on a scheduler on the Moodle platform. I'm also going to use TPTube video links, and this is what I'm doing today. Please do not undermine or look down on the TPTube video links, because these videos have or contain a lot of information which will assist you to successfully complete your teaching practice. Furthermore, I will post announcements. Please read these announcements regularly. And I will also send bulk emails to you. Take note of the following regarding submission of your assignments via My UNISA. Please use the correct assignment number and contact. Use your correct student number. Ensure that the pages are clear. in the correct chronological order and the right side up. If you put the right side down, it will come to me as a blank page. And you'll be surprised that you get a 0 because you submitted a blank page. Please upload one PDF document. Do not upload MS Word documents. They should all be PDF documents, and it should not be a zipped file. And also, please make sure that you do not encrypt a password. Don't put a password in your portfolio, and also do not submit it as a read-only document. When you submit it as a read-only document, I won't be able to mark you, and that will result in a fail. Dear student, it is important that you complete the general information. Provide all the information which I have asked you, your student name, your student number, your postal address, which includes the postal code, your email address, which is your MyLife email address, your contact details, which is your contact number. Also, indicate whether you are permanently employed at the school or not. And also, were you also provided with a school placement? Remember, you cannot start your teaching practice if the teaching practice office did not provide you with a placement. Here, do not write not applicable, where I ask, are you an intern or an assistant teacher at your school? Say yes or no, and say if you are an intern, say if you are an assistant teacher. If you are employed outside the sector or education sector, also indicate that. And then please sign. Remember, you have to print this document, append your signature, and then write your full name and your surname. If you fail to provide us with all this information, this will result in a 0. Furthermore, you need to complete the declaration, the student declaration. Let me explain what the legal function of a declaration is. With the student declaration, you are declaring that all the work in this portfolio is yours. It is not somebody else's work. It is not a portfolio which you bought. It is not information which you copied somewhere, that it is your work. This carries legal implications. You write your full name and surname at the top, and at the bottom, you also write your name, your surname, your student number, your signature, and the date. See, you have to you have to print this so as to complete it. And remember, our portfolios are handwritten and not typed. You do not type them. And I will not take any debate or discussions pertaining to this. You write everything with your handwriting, please. Again, here is a student declaration form, and this is also compulsory. You must sign it. Okay? You make the declaration as a student that all the work you presented is your own work. You understand the consequences of plagiarism, and you have read and understood the UNISA policies on copyright and plagiarism, on academic integrity, on student disciplinary code. You write, you sign, you append your signature, the date, you write your student number and your contact number, and you will have a witness. I suggest that the witness be one of the school-based mentor. Let it be the mentor who has been mentoring you throughout your teaching practice. This is the grid I will be using. Now, grade 2 lessons. The grade 2 lessons, all the grade 2 lessons are for 10 days, 2 days, 2 weeks, which are 10 school days. I need to emphasize here, do not include public holidays. You will lose marks for that. Do not include school holidays. You will lose marks for that. If you are from the SADC countries or are an international student, it is imperative, it is important that you indicate that at the top of your portfolio to say, I am based in Zambia, I am based in Morocco, I'm based in Ethiopia, I am based in Malaysia or Kuala Lumpur. So we know when we deal with your work, it is of somebody outside South Africa. That is important. Your lesson 1 is Maths for Foundation Phase Grade 2. Indigenous knowledge is very important within learning as it embraces the ontological and epistemological aspects of the learner. Think of any indigenous games in your culture that you can use for learners to internalize the multiplicative reasoning of fives. You are allowed to draw to show how the game can be embedded in your lesson. Remember to use the lesson template available to you for this lesson. Now, lesson 2, there it is, face-to-face. And also it says, for this year, as I said, face-to-face lessons, remember that we do not, and I'm repeating, we do not have online lessons. We do not have case studies. All the lessons are face-to-face lessons. Lesson 2 says, proficient counters should be able to carry out all 5 principles outlined by Gelman and Galitzel 1978. It is important that for teachers to recognize these principles during the learning and teaching process. You are required to create your own story about the learner experiencing barriers to learning and stuck in one of the initial stages. Write up a story to use mathematical language to explain any form of these stages. Staple order principle, consistently using the number words in the same order. One-to-one principle, count every item in a set, insert only once, using only one number. Cardinal principle, understand that the last number word used represents the cardinality of the set. Abstraction principle, recognize that any collection of like or unlike items can be counted as a set. Order irrelevance principle, understand that the result is the same no matter the order in which the objects are counted. Those are your Maths for Foundation Phase lessons. What I've done is I have put all the lessons out for you, and once I put them out for you, you go through the lessons. Let me explain at the end. Allow me to go through the lessons first, the 10 lessons for grade 2 for the 2 weeks or the 10 days. Lesson 3 is reading for foundation phase, and it says, what is required of you is group guided reading usually takes place in the carpet corner of a foundation phase classroom under the direct supervision of the teacher. The teacher works with at least 2 ability level groups per day. Each reading group should have anywhere between 6 and 10 learners per group, depending on the learners' ability levels. During group guided reading, individual text with the same title are used by each learner, and learners in group follow and read the same story. Here, the instruction is plan a group guided reading lesson with a group of learners that are struggling to read. Keep the characteristics of the group guided reading approach, great level of complexity, and process of reading development in mind when planning your lesson. Please be creative. Create personal and practical experiences for learners so that learning is meaningful. Take note. Practice under the guidance of your mentor teacher. Use the lesson plan template provided to plan your lesson. Attach a photo of the cover of the selected reader under the resources section of your lesson plan. Lesson 4. It is also reading for foundation phase. And this reads as follows. When sentence cards are cut, they form sentence halves. A sentence half is also known as scooping phrases, where the sentences are broken down into phrases. Using sentence halves to teach learners to identify words and read sentences can be very effective. Here, learners are given the opportunity to read, piece together, or match sentences halves to construct or make sentences. This is also known as sentence construction and helps to develop the learner's word and sentence sense. Plan a reading lesson using sentence half. Refer to and read the section on sentence halves in Unit 7 of your study guide for more information. Do not use the same examples as those provided in the study guide. Please be creative. Use your own examples. Keep the great level of complexity and the learner's reading ability in mind when planning your lesson. Be creative. Create personal and practical experiences for learners so that learning is meaningful. Take note. Practice under the guidance of your mentor teacher. Please listen to them, work with them, submit to them. They are your mentor teachers. Use the lesson plan template provided to plan your lesson. Attach a photo of one sentence, the beginning half and the end half of the sentence in the resource section of your lesson plan. Lesson 5 for grade 2 is home language teaching. This requires of you, it says, design a lesson that you will teach in grade 2 using the whole class discussion strategy to develop the learner's listening and speaking skills. Choose a story that will be interesting and at the level of the learners. Encourage the children to share ideas about the topic and what they know so that the other children can learn new words from them. Take note of the following. Use a word wall to record new words. Number 2, take a picture of the word wall and attach it to your workbook as evidence that you have taught new vocabulary. Lesson 6 of home language teaching grade 2 lesson. Choose your own comprehension passage and prepare a reading comprehension lesson for a grade 2 class where, as the more knowledge other, MKO, you apply social constructivism in the reading classroom within the zone of proximal development, the ZPD. Thereafter, you are expected to assess the progression of the learner's comprehension ability. Ensure you create opportunities for the following: vocabulary extension, word recognition, application of reading approach or processes for reading development. Learners share their own ideas to the passage, varied levels of questioning, follow-up activity, assessment tool. Importantly, attach the passage you have used and the pictures of the resources in your book. I must mention here that if you did not follow all the instructions which are cited in each lesson, that causes you to fail. Some of you come back and say, I've completed my 5 weeks of teaching practice. Why did I fail? You fail because you do not adhere to all the instructions. Fulfill every instruction. Complete every instruction in the workbook. It is important that you do so. Lesson 7, Resource Development for Foundation Phase Grade 2, Reading and Phonics. Choose one of the recyclable materials suggested to create a picture collage displaying the different ways that it can be reused to support teaching and learning activities in a classroom setting. Label each picture, explaining the use briefly. Share with your fellow students on a WhatsApp group. For example, if you choose magazines, you need to research ways in which magazines can be used in the foundation phase. Remember to look at the CAPS document for focus objectives and your other modules to help spark your creativity regarding what needs to be taught and how. Once you have come up with ideas, either find photos of them online or take photos and collage them onto a page. A collage of the use of magazines as a recyclable material would look like this. Take note, practice under the guidance of your mentor teacher. Use the lesson plan template provided to plan your lesson. Attach a photo of the cover of the selected reader of the resources section of your lesson plan. Lesson 8, Resource Development in Foundation Phase. Important, this lesson is a combination of Vygotsky's theory and its application in the classroom, meaning that you must read Vygotsky's socio-cultural theory in your RDF 2601 study guide before engaging in micro-teaching practicals. Now here, you are requested to explain the zone of proximal development, give example of your understanding of the zone of proximal development as explained in 1. What is the understanding of a more knowledgeable other MKO within the context of the ZPD? Inclusive education in the foundation phase is your lesson 9 in grade 2. Activities in these sections are in relation to identifying and supporting learners experiencing barriers to learning, specifically in reading and phonics. You will be expected to identify one learner who is experiencing difficulties in reading. Activity 1. Design a checklist that you will use to identify a learner who is experiencing difficulties in learning. Paste the copy in the space provided. You say here, checklist for a learner experiencing difficulties in reading. Then you paste it under that heading. Activity 2. Write an invitation letter to the parents of the learner identified to discuss your observation and a way forward. Work with your mentor teacher to design this invite. Paste a copy of the invite in the space provided. There it clearly states parents' invitation letter. 2.2. Write a detailed report based on your meeting with the parents, your findings. You write the report, the discussions that you took up with the parents of the learner who's got reading barriers. Activity 3, share your findings with your mentor under the guidance, design an individual support plan, ISP, for that grade 2 learner who experiences difficulties in reading. Use your CS policy document as a point of reference. Paste a copy of the designed individual support plan in the space provided. There I have provided you with the space individual support plan of the student. Activity 4, design a home language lesson for your grade 2 learners where you are going to revise the single letters and consonant diagrams taught in grade 1. Introduce common vowel diagrams, simultaneously work on word building and oral recognition activities. Use opportunities to revise the phonics being taught in other language activities. For example, in shared reading and shared writing. Use scaffolding and flexible grouping to respond to diverse learning needs and ability levels. In your lesson, make sure you outline your aim and learning outcomes in detail and adapt the content to cater for the diverse learning needs of your class. In your lesson, plan, explain in detail how you are going to use scaffolding and flexible grouping to accommodate all learners in your classroom. Also include examples of different activities you will use during your lesson. Use the template provided for your lesson plan. Activity 5. Write a self-reflection report where you indicate your experience on the process you followed when providing learning support to the learner who was experiencing reading difficulties in the grade 2 classroom. In your report, also indicate successes and challenges that were experienced. Also add recommendations on how to improve with reference to the learning support processes, parental involvement, and classroom practice. Please note, attach a copy of the report in the space provided. You are also required, that is your self-reflection, which you need to complete. Before you start, consult the official policy document, Policy on Screening, Identification, Assessment, and Support, which is a GBE book, your CS, as well as Education White Paper 6. Also, consult the tutorial letters and learning guide for the module IFP 3701 on pages 8 in the CS, Identification, Assessment, and there is an example of an individual support plan, ISP. Please access the IFP 3701 learning guide on my UNISA under study material. Okay? Lesson 2 for grade 2, IFP 3701. In this activity, you are required to design a face-to-face mathematics lesson on place value for grade 2 learners to respond to their diverse learning needs. Use the multi-level teaching approach to respond to diverse learning needs and ability levels of the students. In your lesson, make sure that you outline your aim and learning outcomes in detail to adapt the content to 3 levels. Level 1, abstractness; 2, variety; 3, complexity. Also, outline the learner's differentiated activities and how you will assess them. Design a rubric or checklist that will guide you to assess the learners. The activities should be structured as follows. Activity 1.1. Design a face-to-face mathematical lesson plan on place value for grade 2 learners. In your lesson plan, include different activities that you will use in this lesson. Use the multi-level teaching approach to respond to diverse learning needs and ability levels of your learners. In your lesson, make sure that you outline your aim and learning outcomes in detail in order to guide you to adapt the content to 3 levels, that is abstractness, variety, and complexity. The layout of the lesson should be introduction, body of the lesson, and conclusion. Then you add resources used during the lesson. Then use the lesson template provided. Use the following sources as a point of reference. The study guide of IFP 3701, the CAPS document, and also the link below. Grade 3 lessons. Grade 3 is 1 week, so it is 5 lessons. MFP 1501. In grade 3, you are required to prepare a lesson to show your ability to apply indigenous knowledge embedded in your strategies for learning and teaching. Note, indigenous knowledge. Plan a lesson where you will be teaching skip counting, enforce, or a number line, and plan it in such a manner that we would not need to ask how you applied indigenous knowledge and relevant resources. That will be shown or depicted. It will be depicted in the type of resources that you use. Lesson 2, reading for foundation phase. Puppets have a face of a character or an animal and are very useful to tell a story and develop the learner storytelling skills. Learners are usually drawn to and intrigued by puppets. Although not a puppeteer yourself, you can teach the learners to use puppets to tell a story, present a play, or do a reader's theater in which the learners practice reading parts of a script to bring out the characters' voices. Although there are many types of puppets, hand and finger puppet are commonly used in classrooms to enhance reading and acting out plays. These puppets are easy to make and generate a lot of fun. You are preparing learners for the upcoming reading theater event, and you want to make sure that each learner in your class has their own hand puppet for the event. Plan a resource development lesson after studying the section in your study guide on creating and designing learning and teaching materials to promote reading, where you work with the learners, demonstrating and giving step-by-step instructions on how to make their hand puppets using paper bags. Remember to make prior arrangements for learners to have all the necessary resources required to make their puppets so that they are ready to participate in the lesson and work with you. The image below is to give you an idea. Learners can be as creative as possible when designing their puppets. Safety measures must also be considered. Please take note. Practice under the guidance of your mentor teacher. Use the lesson plan template provided to plan your lesson. Attach the photo of any 2 paper bag puppets made by your learners in the resource section of your lesson plan.